Hello Tactician, Professor Blap here, back again to give you another lesson in the Fundamentals series, and today we're tackling a very difficult topic, the hardest thing to learn in TFT, and that's economy management or econ. Even players up in Grandmaster, myself included, have yet to perfect this skill. TFT's units, traits, items, and combat are all really flashy, but in the end, money is power, and TFT at its core is a game about gold. Econ well, and you'll hit your boards earlier and more reliably, and do it poorly, well, you're going to be poor and on a fast track to a bot 4. Of course, for such a complicated topic, we cannot cover everything about econ in a single lesson, but today I have 3 very simple, easy to apply heuristics that you can start using today to improve your game drastically. First up, let's talk intervals and making 10. In TFT, you gain 1 gold of interest for every 10 gold you save at the end of a round, up to a max of 5. This means that 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 gold are important breakpoints, and often referred to as interest intervals. Any gold you have between these intervals doesn't actually change how much you earn. Having 19 gold is pretty much the same as having 10 gold as far as interest is concerned. Early on, the thing you should be focusing on is making it to the next interest interval, eventually getting to 50 as soon as possible. It's really tempting to hold onto a lot of units on your bench. After all, who knows when they'll be back in your shop? What if you need them? But holding too many units, especially expensive ones, is a very common beginner mistake. Instead, if you're able to sell units in order to make the next interest interval, it's often correct to do so, and this is often called making 10. For example, here we have some gold, but are also holding onto a few units on the bench. If we sell these units here, this puts us into the next interest interval, giving us an extra 1 gold. Believe it or not, most of the time that 1 gold is going to be more important than the units you're holding onto. So the first rule is, when in doubt, make 10. If there are units on your bench that aren't critical to your strategy, consider selling them if it gets you to that next interval. Conversely, if you're sitting at 19 gold with no actual way to get to 20, consider buying some units in the shop just in case they come in handy in the next round. Don't let your gold sit idle. Just be ready to sell them right away if it means you make 10 the next round. Right now you might be wondering, well, how do I know when to hold onto units instead of making 10? Well, that's actually a really complicated question and ties a lot into the idea of tempo, something we'll cover in a future lesson. But for now, it's a very simple rule. When you're not 100% sure that you need those units, sell them to make 10. And this leads very nicely to our next rule, which is avoid holding 3-cost units in stage 2. Picture this scenario. It's the start of the game, and wouldn't you know, the first orb you open contains not 1, but 2 of the same 3-cost. Whoa! You're just 1 unit off from having a 2-star 3-cost stage 1, which makes you incredibly strong, right? So obviously it makes sense to hold onto that pair throughout all of stage 2, hoping to hit that 3rd unit, but it never comes. Or even worse, sometimes you do hit that upgrade, but your other units on your board aren't upgraded, and your board actually isn't strong enough to win streak all of stage 2. While an upgraded 3-cost is powerful, that power costs you a total of 9 gold. That's the same as having 3 2-star 1-costs. And if you made me pick between those two, I'd almost always prefer those 1-costs. This is why you'll see a lot of high-level players avoid holding and upgrading 3-costs early on. They're simply too expensive, and making interest intervals early is more important in the long run. Of course, there are exceptions for certain 3-costs that are strong in every set, but if you don't know what those exceptions are, default to selling and making 10. 9 gold is almost an entire interest interval, so every round you're holding onto that 9 gold, you're actually losing more gold in potential interest, and we can show this with a simple example. Let's say 2 players start the game with 10 gold. One of them spends 9 of it immediately on a 2-star 3-cost. If we just look at the interest earned over 7 rounds, the player that saved all that gold now has 53 gold, while the player who bought the 3-cost early only has 38. So that upgrade didn't just cost them 9 gold, but 15 in total. As you can see, not all intervals are created equal. Those earlier intervals 10, 20, and 30 matter a lot more than the later two 40 and 50. And that's going to tie in very nicely to our last heuristic, which is stay above 32. 32 gold is a really important breakpoint, and you should avoid going lower than that. But why 32? Well, turns out if you are at 32 gold, it will always only take you 2 rounds to save back up to 50 no matter what happens. This means that at most, you're only ever giving up 3 gold in interest over those 2 rounds. Dropping any lower than 32 actually becomes progressively more and more expensive to catch back up. Now, if you watched the video on reroll fundamentals, you may remember that for one cost reroll, we recommended on 3-1 rolling down to 32 gold to find additional one costs, and these interest intervals are exactly why. So, to recap, rule number 1, when in doubt, make 10. Rule number 2 is avoid holding on to 3 costs in stage 2. Rule number 3, avoid dropping below 32 gold unless you absolutely have to. As with every rule, there will be exceptions, but until you develop your econ skills a little bit more, I really recommend just following these 3 simple heuristics. I promise you, you'll gain more LP than you lose by doing so. We'll come back to more videos on econ management in the future, but that's all for today. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and comment below so it helps other students find them as well. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so you know when new lessons are available. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch as well to watch me play live, and until next time, class dismissed.